Howdy all Moglax Lives. I think it's time to play a little... Oh man, I'm so slow. A little 7 Days to Die. What are the chances I can get out of here without this place having respawned? What chances I can get out of here? Oh, I don't even know where I'm at. What? Oh, I'm out of stamina. I thought my axe was broken. Okay. So, uh, pretty late episode tonight. I'm gonna have to skip my episode of Rustic Waters tonight. That's a shame. Gotta get up early tomorrow. Early, 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 early. This, quarantine thing means, it means that, somebody's gotta get up and watch my niece tomorrow. 'Cause she is a bit of a handful, shall we say. And so, while my nephew is a bit older, not a lot older, he is quite capable of sitting around and playing video games or whatnot. Whereas she's crazy. Just a little bit. I mean, he can be too. He can be too. I believe last year I ended up watching him occasionally during the day because he was homeschooled, and now they're both homeschooled at the moment, right? Because there's no school. But he was homeschooled, and there was a period of time where that meant that he just was upstairs doing schoolwork, right? And while his parents were gone, and because they both work, and so while his father was at work, I mean, his sister works every day, but my brother-in-law he only works a couple days a week, 3 days a week, something like that. Um, and so he had to work, and so hadn't been a major issue other than the fact that nobody to make him do his schoolwork. He wasn't getting his schoolwork done, so he wasn't here to make him do it. And so anyways, so I go upstairs and check in on him, and he was in one of the spare rooms. Um, it used to be a bedroom, but that's not the case anymore. And so he was in there. He's supposed to be doing his schoolwork, and I open the door, and here he stands, shirtless, covered in purple paint, from his hairline to his waist. And I'm like, what is wrong with you, boy? Why are you covered in purple paint? And he's like, things just got out of control, he says. Which would have been one thing, if those paints were anywhere near to something he should have been hands-on with. But they weren't his paints. So he was just making a huge mess with his sister's paints for no reason. Um, but yeah, so there's no way we're gonna trust the other one because she'll, I don't know, butcher the cat where you're not looking or something. I don't think she'd butcher the cat. But she might cut up a bunch of clothes because she wants to make something out of them, or try to cook in the kitchen and set it on fire. Uh, I would very willingly believe that that would happen. And so I have to get up pretty early tomorrow, and because I was, it's not that I was a slacker. I had a bad night. Uh, sometimes you got a bad night. And last night just was a bad night for me. Not nothing horrible happened. It's not that kind of bad night. Just I went to bed and I was gonna I was going to finish the Gate anime that I've been watching, and so I started watching an episode, and I was just so tired. I went to bed early too. For me, in fact, I was in bed earlier last night than right now. For me, it's 11 p.m. and so I'm looking at another hour at least, right? Getting this video up and going, and but last night, man, I tried to watch that episode and it just wasn't happening, and so I went to sleep. And then about 12:40 a.m., uh, my bed shakes and wakes me up. So my bed is tight against the wall, which maybe is an issue. Maybe I should pull it away from the wall. I don't know. My bed's always been against the wall my entire life, so I don't know how comfortable I would be with my bed just out in the open. That's not true, actually, now that I think about it. When I was in high school, just the head of my bed was against the wall. Um, well, maybe that's when I was in high school. I don't know, man. But for right now, my bed is in a corner. And so above my bed is the living room slash dining room. And so if anything really major happens up there, I can feel it in my bed. And so the, we have a fat cat, and I can only assume that said fat cat, which isn't the only cat, they like to run around and play in the middle of the night, and so I can only assume it was either jumping off the table or jumping off the back of the love seat, either of which I would be able to feel. And so woke me up 12:40 ish, and then I went back to sleep, and then about 1:15 ish, it happened again. Um, and so I got up, I went to the bathroom. Hey, look at that. Wasn't sure. Ooh, what are these? HP. What are these? Shotgun breaching slugs. What are these? Exploding arrows. AP ammo and a weighted head mod. Alright. All that stuff can go back with me. That's nice. Where's the hole that I used to get down in here, though? Here it is. And so I go upstairs, and there's one of the cats, and it's like slinks past in front of the door, because my bedroom is in the basement, and we have a big finished basement. So I have all my stuff down here so that I am out of the way. That's not that I'm out of the way, but that I'm not going to constantly have people in and out, and in my way, I guess. Do you think I have enough time to retrieve this thing before it gets doomsday? Because I do not have the... I did not do anything to prepare for this day 14, unfortunately. It took me too long to get my crucible and stuff. Next time, though. Next time I better be working on getting some blade traps or something going. So then I watched a couple of episodes of Gate. Didn't get to finish it off like I had intended, but I did finish the episode that I started and watched one more. And weird anime. I'll talk about it here in a second, but then I had one of those nights where it's like, you're too cold, so you pull the blanket over you. You're too hot, so you kick the blanket off of you. You're still too hot, so you kick the sheet off of you. Well, now you're freezing, so you put the sheet back on. Well, the sheet's not enough now, so you better get that. Oh no. I don't think I can do this, to be honest. Okay, I definitely can't do this with all this crap in my inventory. Some of this can go away, just... Oh, nope, sorry. I meant the can. I was going to turn the can into steel. And... Alright. Oh, and we should probably wait. Place this down before I get too crazy here. So at least this one isn't a clear, it's just a fetch. But I have no idea. You think it's too close? Yeah, it's too close. You're so silly. I mean, I'm not inside the actual area. Whatever button I gotta do to press this? There we go. And, so then it was just that for the rest of the night. Every 40 minutes or so I'd wake up and my temperature would just be super off. Uncomfortably off. And so I did not sleep well. And even though I did wake up at the time I had intended, okay. I couldn't get out of bed, so I just tried to. Even this morning, what? Oh, you dirty vultures! Even this morning, it was like, I wake up and I'm like, I'm too cold, I'm too hot, my foot is cramping up. And, it was just that over and over and over and wouldn't stop. And I'm just like, I just want to sleep. And so I finally just, I finally got to the point where I was like, I have to get up. I'll never get done with my work for the day if I don't get out of my bed by now. So I didn't go to my bed until close to 11:30, and So because of that, it also doesn't help that Mondays are streaming day, right? And so, uh, oh no. I'm not thinking those cars probably count for gas. Quick, quick, I need some gas. Well, it's like 6 p.m., right? I've got a ton of time still. Um, but yeah, it was not a good night for me, unfortunately. Hopefully tonight goes better, cause I am not gonna enjoy getting up early in the morning. Although I might get lucky, and my sister did say that she might not have to go into work as early. She's a therapist, and so if her morning client decides not to come out, then she might be able to let me sleep. All depends on if that first client decides to brave the day or not. She never knows because people are rude. I find it rude, anyways. I hate when people cancel things at the last moment because everybody does it. The number of times that people have canceled something with me that we had planned in advance, I could probably count on one hand, to be honest. I honestly can't think of any time that something's been canceled that it was canceled early enough that I could do something else about it. Um, and I find that super offensive, to be honest. Uh, it's nothing I hate more than someone wanting you to do something that's going to take a long time, and then you have to do other things to get ready for it, or you have to like get out of bed earlier, or do extra work the day before, or stuff like that, and then like 2 in the afternoon for something that's supposed to start at 6, they're like, somebody else called and they want me to do the thing with them, so I'm gonna go do the thing with them, and we can just do our thing next week. So I'll talk to you later. That's rude. You already had plans with me, so that's already an issue. And then on top of already having plans with me, this is something that they could have planned. It's not a spur of the moment thing. Well, they just weren't sure if they were going to be able to do it today. Well, you didn't let me know that you might be doing this other thing today. Well, I mean, they weren't sure, and I knew you were going to be available, so yeah, but now I can't make other plans for the evening because who wants me to call them at 3 in the afternoon? Hey, at 6 o'clock, you want to do something? No, no, you're just rude at that point. You're just rude at that point. I also hate like uh, we do the thing. I like, oh, I got home from work, and I know we're supposed to play D&D or something, and I just, I'm just not feeling it tonight, so I'm just gonna go ahead and. Why is there a tier 1 buried supplies on this list? We'll do a clear the zombies for the next one, I guess. but we're not going to do it tonight. That's for sure. So Gate. So let's talk about Gate. Um, Gate is pretty cool. I've talked about it a bit before, so spoilers. I'm just about at the end of the series. I haven't looked to see if there's more to it. There might be a lot more to it, like in the comics, because a lot of the cartoons, the anime, are based off of the manga or comics, um, and so there could be more to it. I don't know. I do know that they stated that it was the final year of the Empire, and the first season of 25 episodes was the first 6 months. So I have to assume that what's about to happen is the end of the Empire, and uh, and so it's kind of unique. I haven't seen anything like this before. I've seen a lot of anime where like people from present day Earth get yanked into another dimension or another, you know, ancient time or something like that. But I've never seen modern Earth invading a fantasy realm, and that's kind of what's happening. It's. I mean, at this point, it is what's happening. It's not going to continue, from what I've learned on the show. I don't know how much longer though. Well, I know the show's only got like 3 episodes left, but uh, the uh, the show itself, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go hit that car I just saw. Um, so what happened was a gateway from this fantasy world opened up, and um, but it opened up into like downtown Tokyo, and so they tried to invade downtown Tokyo with physical force, which would be fine if you had the physical force to back up against modern day military. Uh, but what they invaded with was mounted soldiers with swords and bows and arrows, and I think they were wyverns. I think they call them dragons too. So dragons, but tiny dragons that are basically flying horses. We'll call them. And they weren't pegasi, but they were dragons. They were just small dragons. And so so they get in there, right, and they try to invade. Well, of course, the military butchers them. They kidnapped some people. They killed a few people, but once the actual like dudes with military hardware show up, I mean that's it. Uh, there was no. I don't want to get on the motorcycle. I wanted to load my inventory up with stuff from the motorcycle because I know this is going to take a couple of trips here. And so the first couple episodes, the first one was the invasion of Tokyo or wherever. I don't know if it was Tokyo. I didn't pay attention. I'm terrible with names. Uh, and I'm never gonna get any better. I don't think. I'm terrible with names. And so they get in there, and the military does show up, and the military fights them off and goes through, and that's like the first episode. And then after that, they go, oh, you know what? That shouldn't go in there. That's bullet stuff. And so after that, why do I even have that? That's weird. That I was keep forgetting to sell. Um, and so uh, they quickly establish a base in the other world, and the military force from there attacks again, and is quickly. Can I just put this in here? Will you cook that thing? Because I don't want it, and I don't. It doesn't. I don't even. I think you get like sledgehammer parts from it, and I don't want the sledgehammer parts, man. It's not steel tools. It's sledgehammer parts, and that is not something I even want. And so it sort of follows a couple of different people. It's not very focused. Uh, I mean, it is focused, but it's not like usually you watch something like this and they focus on one person and they follow that one person. Occasionally they'll do a side story, but it's pretty much just going to follow this one person all the way through, right? And this isn't like that. And so it bounces around a bit. And so for a good chunk of it, though, they follow this one dude, Itami, I think is his name. And he's a Special Forces Green Beret, but in real life, he's a slacker. And proud of it. And so when they ask him, like, what do you do? He's like, my job's not so important. Basically, my job pays for my hobby. And if I had to choose between my job and my hobby, I'm going to choose my hobby. And so, that's the kind of person he is. Uh, and so, uh, and so he's not really interested in much other than his hobby, which is light novels, which is like, here I think our light novels would be stuff like Hunger Games or Harry Potter or romance novels. And so, uh, and so that's what he's into, and uh, and I don't know if that has to do with anything, but that's what he's into. And so he doesn't come across as the Green Beret Special Forces, guy you send into a horrible war zone, and he's gonna be the only one that comes out alive kind of person. But he is. That's who he is. And so um, he's also the kind of guy that doesn't think of the political fallout from his actions. Oof, there's a lot of bad guys out here already. But it's not nighttime yet, so I want to get down here and finish looting my... Hey. I think I just killed both those guys at the same time. And, so, he, gets sent out on a recon mission, to check in with, like, local villages. And, When he gets there, the village is on fire because a giant red dragon has attacked. Now, the dragons that they attacked with, the military rides, are tiny, like horse-sized. All right, they're bigger than horses, but not by much. And so, you're not. He's not expecting red dragon, which is massive, like house-sized, like skyscraper building sized. All right, maybe not skyscraper, but you know, uh, private jet sized, with armor scales that you can't pierce, and so they end up fighting it off, and by shooting it in the eyes until it leaves, and because nothing else will go through it. Like their mounted machine gun isn't strong enough to go through it. Their handheld rifles aren't strong enough to go through it, and so there's not a whole lot he can do. And but so it was interesting, seeing the military, and then like there's this political intrigue side of things where like the emperor is has decided to use the new green men, he calls them, because they wear green uniforms. The green men, to get rid of his political rivals, so he orders the political rivals to take their troops and attack, because where they're at is the holy land for the fantasy world. All the races came through the gate. That's where they came from. I don't think anything was born in this world except maybe the gods that control everything, but we haven't seen any of them. We've seen some demigods, but we haven't seen any actual gods. And so when the gate opens, sometimes people come through, sometimes people go through from the fantasy world and, enslave people and bring them back. And so that's how all the different races that live there, the elves, the dwarves, the gnomes, the goblins, the humans, and so uh, the emperor uses that to frenzy them, and then the military is now in place, and they've thrown up buildings and concrete walls and barbed wire and all that stuff that they do very fast. And so when the military attacks, they're like, we can't, when the fantasy military attacks, they're like, we can't take them in the daytime, so we'll attack them at night when they're sleeping. Well, that's not how modern military works very well. So when they go in, they fire flares, and then they launch artillery, and they wipe out like 200,000 attacking troops in a matter of seconds, because they're all bunched up together and overlapping their shields to protect from arrows. It's not even slowing down the bullets that are, being fired at them, or the artillery shells that are exploding. And so it was very interesting. It was very interesting to see the clash of cultures, and it's a little bit of I'm not saying they're comparable, but there's a little bit of the feeling like, when you see the soldiers in the like Iraq and Afghanistan, where they're going through the towns and on their goodwill tours, where they hand out like food and candy and stuff to the kids, kind of thing. But then the Red Dragon shows up, and so they have to help the refugees, and then the princess from the Empire gets involved, and because of all the deaths, a group of bandits try to take over the nearby city, which is the capital of the region. Not the Empire, just the region. And so that's the princess is there, and she's a knight, and she doesn't have enough soldiers with her to fight back against the rebels, so she thinks she's going to lose the city, and then the SDF, which is the Japanese Self-Defense Force, shows up and basically saves the city. And then she doesn't know what to do because those are the people she's supposed to be fighting against because they are the enemies of the Empire. And but then she finds out that like her father on purpose invaded Japan because he felt that the border lords were going to move against him to dissolve the empire and place the country in charge of the Senate, and so he was using the SDF to wipe out his political enemies, and so then while all that is going on, uh, they get to the capital, and the emperor has learned that they don't have anything that can stand against. Yes, there's magic, but nobody uses it. I don't understand. We've seen it used a couple of times, but I maybe it's not very powerful, but it has not come up. Basically, it got used in two moments. We've seen it used at the beginning, where the one girl who's in the show, uh, she used her magic to levitate their wagon of books out of the mud, and when they were trying to run from the red dragon, and that was it. That was it. There is a demigod, like a on her way to becoming a god character, who's super violent with an axe. She's basically a god of death and war and stuff like that. And so she is magical in that she regenerates and she's super strong, but there's no actual magic being flung around. And their magic apparently can't take out a red dragon. So I don't know. And then when they get to the capital to face off against to open peace discussions with the emperor, his chosen heir is crazy, and uh, like he's everything you would expect from a medieval fantasy dictator kind of dude. You know, female slaves and rape and all that kind of stuff, and so he shows up while they're talking with the emperor and opening peace talks, and he brings in there's an earthquake, and so the princess rushes them through before they're supposed to actually meet with the emperor, because I guess they don't know that much about earthquakes, and of course Japan has earthquakes all the time, so they're intimately familiar with what's going on with the earthquakes, and so they come in and they start to explain to the emperor what's happening, and the prince comes out and he's like, "Well, my slave told me that another one is coming and that we need to evacuate immediately." And so the emperor tells them to bring in his slave, and when he does, it's one of the people they kidnapped from Japan. And so Itami immediately attacks and frees her. uh, Strangely enough, did not turn into actual incident, and so they took their Japanese citizen, and then there's some stuff where they go back to Japan, and they're meeting with the Diet, which is the Japanese Senate, basically, I guess. And so they don't feel that the SDF should be there and that they're wasting taxpayer money by continuing operations in this fantasy realm, and so they're very questioning down of why refugees died during the Red Dragon attack. I mean, it's a giant red dragon. I don't know what they thought. The fact that anybody survived was, almost luck, and They basically got a lucky shot in on the dragon's eye, which made it flee. And like on its actual eyeball, right? Like they had to hit its actual eyeball. To be fair, it's a big eyeball, but still, it's moving around, breathing fire, flying, um, and but so they did a little bit with that, and then they come back, and then you find out that uh, the one slave the prince has, his favorite slave, is using him, and I think she's just trying to bring down the empire because she's a demi-human. She's a rabbit person. So they have like animal people. It's called a demi-human. Uh, there's more than just rabbits, but all the animal people they reference as demi-humans, I guess. Probably goblins and stuff are included in that too. And 22 is nighttime, right? That's when the horde should start. Are we? We're in horde mode. Where's my horde? I thought they automatically centered in on you. Weird. And so, uh, um, so the part I'm at, they just poisoned the emperor, and now the crazy lunatic son is in charge and has started guerrilla warfare, or attempting guerrilla warfare against the SDF. They haven't shown any of that, but he did. He did just try to wipe out the peace faction, like murder them, and the ones who want to make peace with Japan. And two of their members made it to the Japanese embassy, which by treaty is Japan. And so I think he's going to try to attack the embassy. And the president of Japan has just told them that they can't do military maneuvers in the fantasy realm until the foreign observers and the press are done with their tour, which will be a week. So the embassy has to hold out for a week um, against the emperor, I guess, or the emperor's son, anyways, before they can do something with the military. But I mean, this is it, right? This is the end of the empire. They already destroyed some buildings in the capital city just to show that they could. They flew in jet fighters and launched a couple of bunker busters into the Senate building when it was empty and leveled it. And so I can only assume that's what's about to happen to the entire capital city, probably the palace and all that stuff. Um, but yeah, it's an interesting watch. Like I said, I haven't seen anything like this before, and it feels like how they talk about how like the Michael Bay Transformers movie is like a advertisement for the military. This isn't dissimilar to me. Better writing, of course, much fewer explosions. But yeah, it's enjoyable. It's not the best thing I've ever watched, and I do feel it suffers a little bit from its bouncing around of plots. Um, oh, I did want to talk about they did kill the red dragon finally, and that was interesting. They followed it back to its lair, and while it was out of its nest, the guy Itami, he went in and had the group that he was with dig out the nest, and they packed the floor with C4 and magic weapons that were laying around, and then they buried it all. And then when the dragon came back before they were finished getting ready, and so the dark elves that were with him open fired with their rocket launchers, and then the one girl who does magic really in the whole series used her telekinesis to snatch up more of the magic weapons that were laying from previous people who tried to kill it, and flung them at high speed into the dragon. Because what she's doing is she's applying the physics that she learned while she was in Japan, and she brought back a laptop full of textbooks, and she's applying the science she's learned to her magic. And so I know she does this new thing that she only started doing after Japan, where she amplifies whatever it is she's doing somehow. She never did it before, so I don't know exactly what she's doing. She just makes these big rings in the air and then shoves an energy blast through it. So I don't know if she's using like the air to throw it faster or magnetic rings or what exactly is going on, but yeah, so they get the dragon to land, and then the elf girl that's with him, she calls a lightning storm with her nature magic, and the lightning causes the C4 to go off and detonates and just wipes out the red dragon. Oh, and then the demigod that's with them, Rory, she's supposed to be the bride of one of the gods, and she refuses. And so it turns out that the demigod is the one who woke the dragon and bred two more dragons, and so the jet planes show up because they got permission to enter the territory, and which is the only reason they weren't there to fight the big dragon. Once again, it was Itami running off on his own without regard for any political or even military reasonings, and or fallout, I guess is the word I wanted instead of reasonings. And so, she's like, "All right, you can't face off against my red dragons," and even though one of them was not red, and then the planes launch their missiles, slamming into the dragons, knocking them to the ground, and then the helicopters come up over the cliffside and fire repeatedly with anti-tank rounds, and then the tanks down below fire their artillery rounds, and just wipe the dragons out. And then the demigod, she's not as strong as Rory, so she takes off running. But yeah, it's pretty enjoyable. It's called Gate. I'll be curious to see how it ends. It's just like I said, I'm really enjoying the interplay of fantasy world facing off against in a more realistic measure than some of the other stuff I watched. Like I really like parts of Ari Fioretta, but the dude in that, even though it's really fun to watch, makes like pistols out of using magic, and his stuff is just so overpowered compared to what it should be that it's maybe a tad ridiculous. But this is an attempt to be a little more realistic, I guess. Not a lot, but a little. All right, with that, click like if you like, subscribe and catch the next one. We'll talk to you later.